ChainCulture.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So my name is Damir Rogosic. People on Hive know me as Lord Butterfly, which is also my wallet address and my username, which is interesting about Hive. I'm the head of business development for VSC, Virtual Smart Chain, which is a kind of a cross-chain protocol that aims to be the cross-chain hub of entire crypto ecosystem, also a universal liquidity layer, quite a large goals we have set for ourselves. So today I'll be talking a bit about cross-chain, why it's important for the maturity of the whole crypto ecosystem, and some of the problems that we're trying to solve ourselves with our project. There we go. So nowadays blockchains kind of exist as separate islands. They don't really communicate with each other. It's not easy going from one to the other for the users. And you could say they all have their own identity systems. They all have their own wallet addresses, token standards in many cases. For example, if you wanted to send some Ethereum tokens back and forth on the Ethereum mainnet, what would you do? So what you would do is basically download an Ethereum wallet and then just do some transactions back and forth. And that's great, that's awesome. But what if you wanted to do the same thing on Solana, on Hive, on Tezos? Well, you would have to repeat the process all over again. What if you wanted to send some tokens back and forth between these blockchains? That wouldn't be so simple. You would use decentralized bridges, maybe centralized exchanges, and that's not in the ethos of the crypto space. This also creates friction. This creates a problem with the user experience. And this type of user experience isn't something that you can fix simply by, I don't know, adjusting a few things with your logging system or with your dApp. No, this problem is fundamental to how the core of the crypto industry works. That's basically where we come in, where VSC comes in. We want to give you choice, a choice of one wallet from whatever blockchain there is, and allow you to do transactions back and forth, hold tokens from different blockchains, which should help in terms of payments, in terms of remittances, while at the same time allowing our dApps that are potentially going to be building on our smart contracts platform, which is another thing we're offering, to have access to the wider ecosystem without having to be tied to a single blockchain. So when it comes to successful business models, a lot of successful business models do things similarly to some others, do the same thing. But there's one thing about them, one unique thing that's different. And that thing has value. For us, for VSC, that is wallet interoperability. So, if you're going to remember one thing about this presentation today, about VSC, it's that we aim to abstract all complexity from everyday crypto use for the end user. So the question is, how are we going to do that? To simplify things, I made kind of these three pillars of functionality on the VSC protocol. The first one being native cross-chain swaps. Secondly, our smart contracts platform. And thirdly, NAM, native asset mapping, which is kind of an evolution of what's possible with cross-chain technology today. It's kind of the new technology that we built ourselves for VSC. So, what are cross-chain swaps? Cross-chain swaps are essentially trades that you do between two blockchains, between two different wallets, that's not reliant on intermediaries, that's not reliant on centralized bridges or centralized exchanges, while completely maintaining your sovereignty during these transactions. So, there's a lot of, well, not a lot of, a few cross-chain protocols that do the similar thing like we do here. But there's a number of things that we do differently that kind of makes us stand out in some ways. The primary thing is that we use HBD. HBD, a stable coin native to the Hive ecosystem, and we use it as the base asset in all trading pairs, in all liquidity pools. What this does is two things. Because it's a base asset, you only need one liquidity pool per token that you have implemented on your platform. While that's completely different with other blockchains, for example, other protocols like Uniswap, where they would need to pair up all these different tokens with each other. So the efficiency of liquidity use is many times higher on VSC than these legacy protocols. Also, because it's a stable coin and not a volatile asset, you don't have to be kind of concerned with being open to volatility from both sides, like is the case with these other protocols that exist that are related to cross-chain. So you might ask, okay, why would we use your protocol instead of already these established centralized bridges that exist? For a single reason. Are you afraid to lose your money? These centralized bridges have failed many times in the past, and that's for a simple reason that they have a single point of failure. And with some of these hacks that happened, which are one of the biggest in history, even though bridge activity only accounts for maybe 2 or 3% of total blockchain activity, these hacks are some of the biggest in the history of crypto. For example, with Ronin Bridge, Wormhole, Nomad, multi-chain. So that will be it in terms of our first functionality aspect. Secondly, we're talking about smart contracts. A pretty standard offering when it comes to the crypto ecosystem, but what we're bringing new to the table is kind of tied to wallet interoperability. We're using WebAssembly for our smart contracts. Again, this gives you more flexibility when you're deploying your smart contracts because you don't have to tie yourself to the small base of potential programmers. You can use more standardized programming languages like Golang, much easier to find a developer for that, especially. It's the first time decentralized options like this exists on Hive, and that's in terms of that. But what I wanted to talk about is in the implication of what we're bringing to the table for the dApps that are going to be deploying here potentially, right? Right now we have a dApp on Ethereum or on Hive. Who are the users that can access your dApp, who can use your application, who can maybe interact with your smart contracts? They're the users that already have that single wallet, that they're already users of that single blockchain. When you introduce wallet interoperability into the smart contract system, what you do is allow for these dApps access to the wider ecosystem. So they're no longer tied to a single blockchain. Wallet addresses from Bitcoin, from Litecoin, from Ethereum can all interact with the smart contracts on VSC all at the same time. And if we're talking about the next killer app, next killer dApp for crypto, the first one ever, by default, that dApp cannot exist on a blockchain that's tied off from the rest of the crypto ecosystem, from the rest of the users. It has to exist inside a system built on a platform that is accessible by everyone all at the same time. That is what we're bringing to the table with VSC. And thirdly, I know I'm probably boring some of you, native asset mapping, expansion of the technology that cross-chain swaps are bringing. What this essentially means is that you're capable of holding tokens from different blockchain in different blockchain wallet addresses. So that's currently available on a protocol with the example of maybe HBD being held in the Ethereum wallets. In the future, you'll have scenarios where you will be maybe connecting your Solana wallet to VSC and sending Ethereum tokens to a Bitcoin wallet address. This is virtually unheard of so far in crypto. So implications for this are massive, in my opinion here, especially when it comes to maybe remittances and payments. Maybe you want to develop a payment system. The biggest problem currently with payment systems that exist, most of them are completely centralized or, most of them are completely centralized or completely tie you to a single blockchain, to a single ecosystem, to a single customer base if you're a business. If you expand this, if you allow for the aspect of native asset mapping, holding these other tokens in any other blockchain wallet, you're essentially expanding the user base, the customer base. If you're a business, you're a merchant, you want to sell some physical items, it benefits you far more if a buyer can pay in any wallet with any system instead of being tied to a single blockchain. So with native asset mapping, we're doing trust minimized. It's also secured. by the same system with, that is tied to the cross-chain swaps, 2/3 validators consensus, and it's economically secured with Hive at 1.5 to 1. So this is in terms of wrapping. Again, same problem as with the bridges that exist. Wrapped assets have a trust assumption that collateral is secured. Many times it's not. Also has a single point of failure. So you want to decentralize this the best way you can. So I would say, I mean, when you're talking about these problems, why haven't they been fixed so far? Why haven't been adjusted? In many cases, I would say crypto tribalism plays a large part. It's essentially people saying, why should I develop a solution for a user that's not using the blockchain that I want them to use? My blockchain is the best. Theirs not. So that's kind of persistent in all of the crypto ecosystem currently, with kind of focus on inward development instead of outwards, with lack of development in terms of connecting between systems. So that's why I'm seeing this happening. So this is kind of a summary of what VSC is capable of. And before I go on, I would like to say, okay, what are the economic incentives? Why would I want to be part of this system? You could say there are kind of three types of users. The regular user that are going to be using swaps, generating fees. They benefit from not having to rely on centralized exchanges or centralized bridges. Secondly, validators and collateral providers, of course, they share a part of the trading fees, and we're going to be having a VSC token launched, fair launch, next year, distributed to the contributors to the system, so look out for that, and the white paper coming. I want to take some time to just announce that on 11th of November, we're going to be launching our first integration with Bitcoin. Bitcoin liquidity pools will be coming to VSC, and after that, on 12th of December, we're going to be launching an integration with Dash in the same manner as with Bitcoin. So thank you for your time. Sorry if I went on for too long, and if you have any questions, I'll be around here with my team as well.
ChainCulture.